Hi friends, in this video I am going to discuss about Horatian satire with examples in detail. First we see the Horatian satire with examples. Horatian satire was produced by Horace. This satire is the gentlest of all the three types of satires. It does not find evil in things. Instead, it is done from affectionate, almost loving point of view. It is usually an individual's follies that are teased. Unlike most other types, the audience is also laughing at themselves as well as at the subject of mockery. It especially attacks absurdities and follies of human beings. For example, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, where Austen used Horatian satire on people and how they are viewed by the rest of the society. Here are some examples of Horatian satires. First, we see The Rape of the Lock, which was written by Pope. Rape of the Lock was first published in 1712, then reworked and published again in 1714. The poem is a mock epic that satirizes the upper class in London at the time. The story focuses on the central character, Belinda, whose lock of hair is cut off at a social gathering. Although trivial to most, Belinda is outraged that her lock of hair has been cut by the Baron. In The Rape of the Lock, Pope uses Belinda and the Baron to mock two of his acquaintances, Arabella Fermor and Lord Peter. The poem follows the events of the night leading up to Belinda's horrific loss. Next we see Animal Farm. It was written by George Orwell. It's a novel. It's a political satire and allegory. It was first published in the year 1945. It was setting in Mr. Jones Manor Farm. Animal Farm is a satire on equality, where all barnyard animals live free from their human master's tyranny. Inspired to rebel by Major, an old boar, animals on Mr. Jones Manor Farm embrace animalism and stage a revolution to achieve an idealistic state of justice and progress. A power-hungry pig, Napoleon, becomes a totalitarian dictator who leads the animal farm into all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others, oppression. Already we have known Animal Farm is a satire as well as an allegory. Now we see how it is an allegory. Animal Farm is an allegory, which is a story in which concrete and specific characters and situations stand for other characters and situations so as to make a point about them. The main action of Animal Farm stands for the Russian Revolution of 1917 and the early years of the Soviet Union. Animalism is really communism. Manor Farm is allegorical of Russia, and the farmer, Mr. Jones, is the Russian Tsar. Old Major stands for either Karl Marx or Vladimir Lenin, and the pig named Snowball represents the intellectual revolutionary Leon Trotsky. Napoleon stands for Stalin, while the dogs are his secret police. The horse boxes stands in for the proletariat or working class. The setting of Animal Farm is a dystopia, which is an imagined world that is far worse than our own, as opposed to utopia, which is an ideal place or state. Other dystopian novels include Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, and Orwell's own 1984. Next we see Northanger Abbey. It was written by Jane Austen. Northanger Abbey is a satire in which Jane Austen portrays her society and questions its conventions and values. She mocks 18th century literature and more specifically Radcliffean Gothic literature. Also, Northanger Abbey is a coming of age novel, which means Bildungsroman novel, and a satire of Gothic novels. Northanger Abbey was completed in the year 1803, the first of Austen's novel completed in full, but was published posthumously in the year 1817 with Persuasion. The story concerns Catherine Morland, the naive young protagonist, and her journey to a better understanding of herself and of the world around her. How Catherine views the world has been distorted by her fondness for Gothic novels and an active imagination. Catherine Morland is a 17-year-old protagonist of the novel. Catherine lacks life experience but is determined to see the best in people. Her appearance is pleasing and when in good looks pretty. Her fondness for Gothic novels and an active imagination can skew her interpretation of real events. She has a sweet and good-natured personality and is observant but naive, not seeing malicious underlying intentions in people's actions until the end of the novel. She shares with Henry Tilney her love of sarcastic humor. The novel follows Catherine as she grows and matures into a better understanding of people's natures after being exposed to the outside world in Bath. Next we see Brave New World. It's a satirical novel. It was published in the year 1932. It was written by Aldous Huxley. It is a dystopian fiction, meaning it centers on a corrupt and authoritarian government and a society that oppresses its citizens. Brave New World is one of the most popular works of satire, and Huxley displays many examples throughout his text. The plot centers on a satirical portrayal of a society that values ignorance and happiness in place of critical thinking and self-development. Brave New World centers on Bernard Max, who lives in London and struggles to conform to the norms of the world state. He invites Lenina Crone on his trip to the New Mexican Savage Reservation. While he is getting the DHC signature on the required paperwork for the trip, the DHC says that he had been on the same reservation when he was younger. He describes how he had taken a woman, Linda, but that Linda had gotten lost and was presumed dead. Before letting Bernard leave the office, the DHC threatens that Bernard will be transferred to Iceland if he does not start conforming. Lenina insists he wants to go to the reservation even though it is uncivilized compared to her typical lifestyle. She immediately hates the environment and her mood worsens when she realizes she has left her mind-numbing drug Soma behind in the hotel. After witnessing a ceremony in which a young man is whipped bloody, Bernard and Lenina are shocked to see a white man come into their room. The man, John, explains his situation before taking the two visitors to meet his mother, Linda. Bernard decides to bring John and Linda back with him, in part to embarrass and blackmail the DHC. Bernard's plan works, and the DHC, when confronted with Linda and John, resigns and leaves the city. Bernard gets wrapped up in the attention he receives from having brought back John, while John struggles to cope with the cultural differences in the old state. Linda dies after becoming a heavy Soma addict, and John goes on a public rant. After the incident, Bernard and Helmholtz are banished to an island with other non-conforming intellects. John is not allowed to leave and he completes suicide. The plot centers on a satirical portrayal of a society that values ignorance and happiness in place of critical thinking and self-development. Next we see Macflecknoe, which was written by John Dryden. Macflecknoe is one of the finest satires in the English language. It was neoclassical period in English literature, and Dryden, along with another brilliant satirist Alexander Pope, was the power who dominated the literary scene. Satire was the most popular form of poetry, and both Dryden and Pope were great masters of this poetic genre. Macflecknoe is the product of a literary and personal rivalry. The poem was Dryden's reply to Thomas Shadwell's poem, The Medal of John Bayes, which in turn was a criticism of Dryden's earlier poem. Macflecknoe is a mock epic. Such a work uses the elevated style of the classical epic poem, such as the Iliad, to satirize human follies. A mock epic pretends that a person, a place, a thing, or an idea is extraordinary, when in the author's view it is actually insignificant and trivial. Macflecknoe is a personal satire. Shadwell is a dullard, a slow writer, fat in body and hollow in intellect, and above all a plagiarist. He is a man who has to make no effort to be dull. Dullness was absolutely natural to him. He is attacked for his clumsy composition and bombastic language. Dryden ignores the plus points of his rival. For instance, his keen insight into human nature and his acquaintance with the foibles of individuals. All this indicates that Macflecknoe was certainly motivated by personal enmity. The satire is certainly a personal attack. It is clearly an attack on Shadwell and his literary career. These are the examples of Horatian satire. We have to see the Juvenalian satire with examples in my next video. Thank you. If you think it is useful for you, you have to like, comment and share, and never forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.